if I hear something like, yeah, just follow your heart or listen to your heart, I have often people then they ask me like, what does that mean? Like, how is there a voice? Is there really a voice?
Hey guys, welcome to our SoulFam Podcast where I interview space holders from all over the world. I am your host, my name is Karolina, and I am the Connection Catalyst. Today on the show we have Samir Mujagic, the Breathwork Trainer, but also the universe expressing itself in a human form and all that is, and God and energy and light, because we have such a struggle to express who Samir is and who a human is, right? So yeah, I just wanted to mention that he's not only the breathwork trainer, but also all the other things. So welcome to the show, Samir. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you for this beautiful introduction, Carolina. I'm good. I'm very good, actually. Yes. I'm feeling very centered. I'm very connected. Yes. And very excited to do this beautiful interview with you.
Amazing. I feel like, yeah, people like me really need people like you because I am so like, yeah, excited and, so full of joy and just moving and everything. And you're so centered and grounded. And I feel like our energies combined are just the perfect match, for this interview. I think it's going to be really, really amazing. So right now, as the breathwork trainer, as one of your many names, many identities, I'm really curious to know how did you get to become a breathwork trainer? I mean, what has encouraged you to choose this as your profession or your path or something that you currently do? Because I guess you've maybe done other things. And so I'm really curious about your story. Like, what has led you to be a breathwork trainer?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's a long story, actually. Yes. I tried to minimize it, not to talk for hours, but it came to me basically. That is really the only sentence, like the only thing I can say. Like breathwork just came to me. It's not that I always have visualized, oh, I have to be a breathwork trainer or something. Before we started with the interview, I already said that I don't see myself as something because I literally did so many different things in my life. I had so many different masks, so many different roles. I started like this classical way of education. I studied biology. I did my doctoral thesis in neuroscience. I was working as a postdoc in the university for a couple of years. So and then went to this scientific career, and then decided something is wrong. Something is not really fitting here, and so I did a complete break, yeah, because I was very, very unhappy. And that was the first time I realized that there is something more behind this mask. So I was very curious to understand what is this, this true self, this who am I. And so I quit everything, packed my backpack, and traveled the world just to get out of my comfort zone and to see, like, to learn about myself. And so I did a lot of different things in the last 10 years. And what it showed me basically was that I can be anything. Yeah. Because these are just roles. And if you're really then going deeper into your I say always my heart, because I'm a very heart-centered person, then I somehow realize, oh, there's a voice that is saying something. And if you listen to the voice, like, call it intuition, call it inner guidance, whatever. But this voice is basically leading me to things, leading me to persons, leading me to teachers, And yeah, breathwork was then something very powerful that I could encounter for myself first, like to really go deeper into deeper layers of myself, and then realize that this is a beautiful tool for me as a heart-centered person to connect on a soul level with other people. Because I used to, how to say, to sense energies of other people. Yeah, that I always had this, let's say, this gift. I was born like that. I always sensed people, but of course, due to social conditioning and education, I was somehow numbed. Yeah, so I was not. It wasn't really encouraged in myself to pay attention to this gift. Just later in life, I always say like I needed 35 years to realize who I am and what kind of power I have. Um, but since I then encountered my gift of being very heart centered and also being able to connect with other people, so to mirror them, and by that to open their hearts, I just was very curious. How can I work with that? Like, how can I be in service for people? And then breathwork came, and breathwork is really an amazing key into deeper layers of ourselves, and by that also for me to really go into this co-regulation relationship with other people, to connect on a soul level, heart level. These are just words. I mean, you know what I mean. Just to connect. Yeah. And I realized, yes, this is very powerful. So I went to breathwork, and I did different types of breathwork. I started with pranayama, the ancient yogic breathing, because I more and more through my own personal journey went into spirituality. I mean, I came from scientific world. Just imagine that, like very mentally driven person, yeah. And then due to so many encounters, so many moments of being spiritually touched, yeah, I more and more saw myself as, wow, there's something deeper in me. Yeah.
This is
I
cool,
mean,
and like
you
I can
probably
tell you
have
that
also. Yeah.
I can really imagine that because for me, it was exactly the same. Like I can really
Yeah.
put myself in your shoes because I am a master of sustainable energy. Like I studied power engineering, and then after my bachelor studies, I had my first mushroom experience, and I awoke to the other realm, right? And then I was like, I already was, I already was submitted to the masters in Copenhagen for sustainable energy, and I was just like, wait a second, this doesn't really resonate anymore. But I did one semester and then I took a gap year. And literally 4 days after I
Mm,
came back
mm.
after my semester, I stopped eating for like 3 weeks. Because I was like, I want to go into the spirit
Wow.
world, So I was exactly the same, like from
Yes.
the
Yes.
super scientific, like rat race, everything with science, mind, logic, and everything, to oh my god, there's something out there even more than I expected. And yeah, so I took a gap year to be really
Yes.
into, spirituality and meditation and fasting and all these things. So I can really relate to that. It's pretty cool how you have similar stories. I would love you to talk about all
Yes.
these
Yes.
different breathwork types that you have tried, and maybe
Mm,
just a little bit
mm,
about them, about each of them, because like I don't know much about breathwork, just a little bit. I spoke to a lot of
mm,
breathwork facilitators, but I would really love you to go a little bit deeper into each
mm,
type so that everyone who listens maybe knows what to choose for themselves. Because I know that everyone is different, and so maybe they need some
mm,
different tools.
mm.
So I would love if you could talk a little bit about them.
Yeah. I mean, breath work. I mean, it is very common now, the term breath work, and I mean, pranayama is thousands of years old. It was practiced by old yogis. And usually the breath by itself is like the only thing that we can do both consciously and unconsciously. I can breathe consciously, but I can also talk with you and I'm still breathing. So I'm not paying attention. So I always like my project or my company is called Let Life Breathe You, because this is exactly what happens. Life is breathing you when you are not paying attention. So this is a connection. It is a connection to our conscious present, but also to our unconscious, subconscious being. You know? So this is why it is so powerful for example, spiritual practices, because it can connect you to altered conscious states. Yeah. Um, But of course, there are also other aspects. You can also use breath work or breath practices, different types, for specific well-being issues. Yeah, if you have some problems with respiratory system, with your cardio system, you can of course also train your breath, and by that train your immune system. You can train your different, yeah, like a nervous system. You can regulate your nervous system. You can have an effect on your digestive system. So there are different types. Everything is related with the breath. Yeah, this is why what I mentioned to you, like breath work is like a whole universe basically. And because despite the fact that we have to breathe to survive, yeah, like breathing oxygen in and carbon dioxide out, it is a key. So as I said, if you want to, for example, and this is another part, I will talk about that in a minute. For example, if you want to release trauma, if you want to release pain, like all those psychological effects that are blocking you, breath work is also very powerful because, as I said, it can be used as a tool, as a key into your subconsciousness where we store all of those energies in us. Yeah. And if you or have just like a stressful day, you can use the breath to regulate your nervous system from an agitated state into a relaxed state. Yeah, the breath is basically, yeah, the anchor where you can use it to bring you in specific states. The yogis, like thousands of years ago, used that in their yoga training. I mean, pranayama yoga is like the fourth limb of the eight Patanjali eight limbs of yoga, and it was exactly like the part, the fourth limb, because it is connecting the mental part with like the conscious part, like, well, let's say the outer with the inner universe of ourselves. Yeah, the first three, like yama, niyama, and asanas, they are basically for the outer world to train your body, to train your psyche, to like adapt to this outer world. And then the other threes are more like to focus inwardly. And the was used to bring those two worlds together. Yeah. So you can align all the different systems in your body with breath. Yeah. As I said, the nervous system, the endocrine system, the digestive system, because every system in our body is working basically by itself. It's autonomous. So, and if you think like about like your nervous system is very agitated, your digestive system is doing this, your hormonal system is going crazy, and then you sit there and try to meditate, this is not working. You have to align everything. And by the specific breathing techniques, you can do that. Yeah. So I think this is the power. And to your question about what should people pick, now it's like it really depends on what you want to solve or what you want to achieve. If it's just for well-being, yeah, of course. I mean, you can just do um, classical box breathing, where you just have your the inhalation and the exhalation at the same like the breathing patterns at the same amount of time. Yeah, so breathe for 4 seconds in, you hold the breath for 4 seconds, and you breathe out for 4 seconds. And then, like this cycle breathing brings your heartbeat, for example, in a coherent state. Yeah, and by that, your nervous system will be in a balance. Yeah. So this is, for example, something to solve stress or to bring yourself in a relaxed state. Yeah. If you, for example, want to do inner work, you have inner child trauma, you have like chronic stress in your body, and you want to release that, then, for example, somatic release breathwork. This is a breathwork practice that I'm doing now. So I'm becoming a practitioner soon, and which is a very, very powerful modality developed by Stephen Jaggers, a beautiful, beautiful soul who brought up this technique where you just use cyclic breathing to really go deep, deep into your subconsciousness, to tap into the areas of your body where you hold on to trauma, where you hold on to stories, narratives from the past in order to release them. You know? And by that, to then have creating space in your body to allow to to integrate or repattern feelings, emotions, states that you want to achieve, basically. You know? I mean,
And
we all, especially people who
is
are
this a fast breath or slow breath? This type, the somatic one.
the somatic release breath works in a way that it is separated in two parts. So you have like the first half an hour where you are doing very strong, almost holotropic breathing. Yeah? So you're breathing through your mouth in and out, yeah? And you focus on the prolongation of your inhalation. When you prolong your inhalation, you are basically triggering your nervous system, your sympathetic circuits of your autonomous nervous system, to go in an agitated state. And when the nervous system is going into this state, it basically shuts down our, let's say, the thinking mind, yeah, the storyteller shuts off and goes into the primal parts of our brain, yeah, the brainstem, where the reptilian brain. And in that area, we have like all those stored, like the subconscious energies are stored there. There you can tap into with this strong breathing. So you're basically clearing out energies, or in other words, you allowing your primal module, your body, which inherits like information from millions of years, yeah, you allow your body to discharge those energies that you with your mental psyche are holding on to. Yeah, you're using
Mm-hmm.
the breath. Because if you just think about what is trauma, yeah, trauma is like a response of our body. So something is happening to you. And this is like every animal on this planet has this response pattern. Yeah? A stressor is coming, our body is reacting to it. So it takes in the energy and then it learns from it. It tries to adapt to a stressor. And then our body intuitively is releasing the energy again. This is the program. Like this is if you look at dogs, for example, when they are stressed, they start to shake or they start to yawl and they're doing these movements, right? This is an instinctive pattern to release energy. What we are doing if something is happening to us, we are encountering stress or we are encountering something that is triggering us, our body is reacting. You heard about this fight or flight or freeze mechanism. This is happening intuitively. We cannot control it. This happens. But then afterwards, instead of allowing our body to release it through screaming, through yelling, through shaking, through crying, laughter, also, all of those are expressions to let go of the energy. We are starting to build a story around what happened. And then we try to identify with that. And by that, we are suppressing it. We are holding on to it because it's part of our persona. It's part of our identification. This and that happened to me. All this inner child trauma, these are basically energies that we are holding on to, that we build a story around and said like, no, this is happening to me and this belongs to me. So you're not allowing your body to express. And what happens then is you suppress. From suppression comes to repression. From repression, it comes to depression. And then it can cause a lot of problems in your body, right? So the
Oh yes.
somatic release breath work is a technique where you use strong breathing to tap into those areas. You shut off this storyteller and allow your body to discharge those energies. You're clearing out. And then people are like we are doing for 1 hour, we are breathing very heavily. And by that, I mean, you're using also like neuro-linguistic programming, verbal cues, where you just go with the client into it and say, okay, try to go deeper into this and that. What are you seeing? What is your purpose? Where is the anger located? So you're guiding them with your presence and with these cues. And by that, people start to release, through different forms. Crying, anger, for example, is also very, very strong expression, something that we in our modern society are completely suppressing. Yeah? So we are not giving ourselves the permission to to cry or to scream. Yeah. So this is
Or
needed
to
in
smash something.
our times. Or to crash something, exactly. Yeah, or just to shake yourself, like, or I mean, usually what we're doing is not fight or flight anymore. We are freezing most of the time. When something happens to us, we are freezing, and then when the psyche is coming back, like the module is online again, then we build a story around and say like, oh, okay, this happened to me. Oh, I have to behave. I cannot express like that now in public. And then you go home and then you suppress it. Maybe you cry and a little bit, but not this full discharge. This is what is needed. And the second part of this modality is then to go really deep into relaxation. Yeah? So you do strong breathing, and then you do calm breathing. You breathe through your nose. If you do nasal breathing deep into your belly, then you are triggering your parasympathetic circuits, the rest and digest part of our nervous system, the part that really calms us down. Yeah, so you're going from up, and then you can bring it down again. And by that, you have created space so that you can integrate. You can integrate, how do I want to show up in the world? What is my higher self? Yeah? Very powerful, very, very powerful. So this, for example, is something that I'm
So is
focusing on. And yes.
So I have a question. Is this second part of breathing, the one that you breathe into your belly, it's like rest and digest mode, right? So is this one good for digestive system, for example?
Yes, of course. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you do belly breathing, we say belly breathing is actually diaphragmatic breathing. So you're breathing with your diaphragm. Now, the diaphragm is a muscle that sits beneath our rib cage. And when you breathe, it opens up. And if you breathe out, then it goes back in. So it just opens our rib cage. It gives us more space for the lungs to inflate. Yeah. And in this area, in the belly and where the diaphragm is, are a lot of nervous connections. And there's also a very special nerve. Probably you heard about the vagus nerve, the nerve that is controlling this rest and digest, the parasympathetic system. And you can stimulate that just through belly breathing. If you breathe, you can do it now. I mean, if you just take a deep breath into your belly, and just you immediately feel relaxed, more relaxed. It's a very nice feeling, breathing into the belly. So this is something that you can do if you also feel agitated, if you feel stressed, if you feel a bit scattered. Breathe into the belly, and then you relax.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel very lethargic, if you feel very depressed, if you feel low on energy, then start to focus on increasing the time of your inhalation. Yeah, like yeah. So if you breathe, for example, longer in, then your heart is beating faster. If you breathe out,
Mm-hmm.
your heart is slowing down. This is called respiratory sinus arrhythmia. So our heart is also connected with our breath. And this is also what you can use to just stimulate your nervous system. And when you stimulate your nervous system, you have access to your emotional state. Because if you feel
Mm-hmm.
agitated, you feel more energy. You also feel stress. If you breathe more calm into your belly and prolong your exhalation. Your heartbeat is slowing down. And by that, you are feeling more calm. And by that, also
Hmm.
have like a more peaceful state of being.
And what if people have some respiratory system problems like asthma or similar?
Mm,
Then what kind of breathing is the
mm.
best?
I mean, what you do usually when you have asthma, of course, it depends also on what kind of level. Right? Like if you have really severe asthma, then breathwork can help. Yes, but it's not like that you just do breathwork and then the asthma is going away. So it can support your to minimize the symptoms. I myself had a long time asthma, and for example, when you do nasal breathing, breathing in through your nose, then um, you are basically controlling the the dilatation of your bronchites and of your vascular system. Yeah? Because when I breathe through the nose, we have like special glands that are producing nitric oxide, and nitric oxide is a gas that is opening up the bronchites. So they're becoming bigger. They are also opening the vascular system so more blood can go through it. And this is, for example, something that is very recommended if you do, if you have asthma, just to open it up. But also buteyko breathing when you are training, for example, your breath holds. You know, the more you hold the breath, the more CO2 is coming, like is accumulating in your body, which also opens up your bronchites. You know, this is
Hmm.
a like our physiology is so much connected with breathing. So there are different types, as I mentioned now, that you can use when you have asthma. Yes.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I will share it with all my friends and family members who struggle with that. And I have been struggling before with digestive system because, as I said at the beginning, I'm like, so active and so just like full of energy. And I feel like that could bring sometimes stress if you do too much, if you have too many things going on and, you want to experience all of it. And this is the kind of person that I am. So I totally resonate that I should just breathe slowly and just like relax and breathe into my belly. That's for sure. Because I feel like I already have so much energy that I don't need to inhale for longer anymore. But
Yes,
yeah,
and
thank you so much for sharing that.
the one of the major issues that we in our modern, fast-paced society have is that we forgot about how to breathe properly. We basically don't use the diaphragm for breathing. We are using basically the upper parts of our lungs because everything is so stressed. When you are stressed, you are breathing very shallow. Yeah. So, and by that, you are triggering again your nervous system to go into the sympathetic state. So you're holding your nervous system, you're hijacking your nervous system into a stress mode constantly. And the first thing that we have to do is to bring the breathing down into the lower parts, into our abdomen. If your diaphragm, if you're not breathing properly, then your diaphragm gets gets very how to say stuck. Yeah, so it's cramping. So you have to train. A lot of people cannot do belly breathing, so you have to train your diaphragm, the muscle, to relax. Uh, so I recommend everyone, all also your listeners of the podcast, try it out. Put one hand on your belly and try to see if your hand is moving when you are breathing. If your hand is not moving, then your diaphragm is probably not really relaxed. You know? And you can train that by just constantly trying to imagine as if the air is going into your belly. So you're inflating your belly up like a balloon when you breathe in and out. Just by this, you are more and more relaxing your diaphragm and it just comes more and more into action again. And it helps you to breathe properly. Breathing properly means your relation between oxygen and carbon dioxide gets in balance. By that, your blood acidity is getting in balance. Your immune system is by that getting in balance. If your immune system is in balance, then of course also what is related with that is the way if you're becoming sick or not. Yeah. Your digestive system, as I said, is then also regulated. So everything is connected. Everything. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for explaining all that. It really helps me to understand breathwork even more. And I have friends who are very much into Wim Hof, so I know a tiny bit about it, but not a lot. So thank you for sharing. And what are other types of breathing that you have been practicing in your life? Are there any more?
Hmm. I'm very focused on heart breathing. This is what I am doing. So I'm integrating, for example, also this traumatic releasing with I call it heart cleansing breathing. As I said, like for me, my gift, my power to connect people on the heart level, is to first break all those conditioned patterns and stories and trauma that we have in our body to create space and then lead people into their heart, into their true self. This is why I call it true self. This is the center where our true self, our higher self, the source, whatever you will call it, or whatever you are believing, it's something that is higher than you in terms of this persona, you know, the observer. And by leading people into their heart with the breath, so you are just focusing on your heart chakra and put the breath in there, and the breath is opening more and more. It's like a door that is opening, and by that you all of a sudden have this feeling of love, loving kindness, peacefulness, you know? And this is where I then lead people into and say, like, this is who you are, this is who you truly are, this is where the power comes from, this is where you are safe. And I mean, this is my experience, and I have this intuition, or like I deeply believe that everyone, because we are all the same, everyone is a heart-centered person. We are born like that. The only thing is, what kind of stories during your life, what kind of karma are you acquiring during your life that is shutting that down, like clouds that are just obscuring your light. And if you clean that up layer by layer, the more you will be connected with your true self. And I think this is a beautiful world
Yes.
if we are all living from our heart instead of living from our mind and using that. It's a beautiful tool. Also, the mind is beautiful. I'm not saying anything against the mind, but it shouldn't be the mind that is control. Like, it shouldn't be the mind that is in the driver's seat. It should be you
Hmm.
that is driving. And you, I
Yes,
mean,
and it should be the
your true
heart.
self.
And the heart is the first organ that is formed when we are born. So it's like our essence is there. It's like a bridge between our physical and our spiritual bodies. So it's so important to connect to that. And also believe that if we activate our heart and if we are really actively loving or actively radiating these emotions from the heart, we literally can activate other people's hearts as well just by our presence, just by our love. We can really influence because we have an aura, we have an electromagnetic field, and heart has the biggest electromagnetic field, right? That we can produce, quote unquote, I mean, that we have in use. So if we can really radiate this love, radiate this kindness and gratitude and all these things, then we can spread, literally, spread this love and this radiation from our heart. So I couldn't agree more that opening the heart and heart awakening, that is your specialty, is one of the most important things ever for everyone because it's just like it's the most powerful tool we have. The love we have to ourselves and to others is the most healing frequency. The frequency that can literally heal our body. And actually, I just want to mention this little story, and I really hope my friend doesn't mind it because the person who introduced me to the spiritual world, let's say, and who I took the first mushroom with. He actually told me when we met that he has healed himself from incurable disease, something like, I don't know what is it called in English, but he had some breaks in the nerves in his spine that he couldn't even really move. And literally, he said that he was loving himself for a month, and then he stood up. And it's just like, I was just like, what the hell is going on? Like, really? I couldn't really believe it. And at first I was just blown away by the story, but I was really curious, like, how come, and I saw the paper from the hospital. It's not like he was just bullshitting me, I saw the legit doctor's, whatever description about this. And I was like, oh my God. And so the love literally heals us. That's why the heart is so important to focus on, because of course we can see other dimensions. We can hear angels. We can, go hardcore on, I don't know, ayahuasca or DMT journey and explore the universes and multiverse and everything, right? But if we actually are in the physical body, it is so crucial to work with our heart, because it's just so powerful for our physical body as well. And it can raise our vibrations so much, and it can literally, the frequency of the heart can also affect the lower chakras, the lower parts of our body, because it's higher than that, right? So it can literally heal us. And I just really wanted to highlight it because it's just so important. So speaking of that, what are other ways apart from breath work that you feel are important to awake our hearts?
Mhm. You know, I'm just a pointer. I there's no I would love to have like something like a prescription that I can give to people, say like, use this and then you are in your heart, or use this and then you're spiritual awake or enlightened. But it's not working like that. And you beautifully said that, what we are doing, because we are all connected with each other. We are all connected with each other. We are one on this level or dimension, whatever you will call it. And we can only, let's say, point to direction. We can only um, help by our presence, by being centered, by being in a certain vibration, to stimulate others. When I am like in the beginning, I said like I was always born like that I would say that I just love unconditionally. I did not know what that means back in the years. Yeah, I had always a strong connection to everything, and I was scared. Was scared of it because I was like, oh, I get hurt, and people like this typical empath thing, like you were giving, 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 but not receiving, because I was conditioned to get feedback of that. But then I realized, oh, I don't need that anymore, because it comes naturally all the time. It's like a infinitive well of this feeling. So now she said, like, what else can I do to have this feeling? I mean, to really realize that you are not the story that you are um, telling yourself. I think this is, I mean, now it goes really into karma and like also like what our ancestors have done, and all those things that we are carrying with us, like this whole package that is obstructing. And it's not just our life, also the past lives. So I think if you do inner work and you really focus on getting through the layers, through meditation, through breath work, so I mean, you can also use some plant medicines, everything that is somehow peeking some holes into those masks that you can see the light through. Then these holes are getting bigger and bigger as more you are going through. And what I also would emphasize is that actually there is no goal. We also have to get out of this thinking like there's a goal I have to reach. It's always just a process. Because we are constantly, when in this dimension, in this body that we are inheriting, we are constantly also acquiring karma. We are also getting more and more. So you're just swimming through it. Yeah. But it can get a little bit more easier. It can get a little bit more um, joyful, I would say. Yeah. And yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm sorry that I cannot
And it's
ask.
so
I
important.
cannot say. I would love to say do this and that, but like if I'm speaking from my heart. I'm guiding people. I try to reflect that, just to be in the present when I'm working with my clients. I am holding this space. I'm the conscious witness. I am the holding the container with my love. And by this frequency, I can help you to get in this frequency. But I cannot say like I cannot open it for you. You have to open it by yourself.
Hmm.
Understand what I mean? I
Yes,
can create like
absolutely.
this bubble for you. I can obstruct everything that is obstructing you. I can shut that down. But I am not the one who is opening your heart. It's just you. So, but
Yes,
you are always. I mean,
that's so on point.
you
And
are also in. Sorry, continue.
you go. I think we have a little bit of a lag. You go, you go. I'm curious what you
Yeah,
were
yeah.
about to say.
No, I just want to mention because I mean you are also doing spiritual work, and you know that we are like also this is this type of being a healer, or I mean we are not healing. We are helping people to heal themselves. Like we all have like an unbelievable form. Like the body is just an unbelievable beautiful vessel that can do everything by itself, everything. Yeah, just to really um, honor this intelligence that we have to perceive life, to perceive the universe. I mean, I could cry when I'm just thinking about it. That I am consciously aware about everything around me. That I'm allowed to feel it, to perceive it with this here, with this, with eyes and everything. And this beautiful complex thing is constantly healing itself. It's only that we have to allow it to do. I see like the mental thing that we have, this beautiful brain, this newest part of our like the prefrontal cortex that is beautiful, but which also then brings in blocks, and it's just inhibiting this perfect thing that has like millions of years of information and knows exactly what to do. Just to allow it, just do your job and just be present and just see this beauty. That's all. That's all. This is, you don't have to do anything else
Yes,
and have a joyful
it's just
life.
it's just getting out of your own way, of your body's way to heal, right?
Yeah, yeah. But this is what we're doing. Basically, we are trying to bring people then in a state where they are just letting go, where they are not focused here and trying to plan everything. And it's like, oh, I need this and this and this and this to heal. No, just relax. Let your body do that.
Just chill,
Yeah,
and all your problems are gonna be solved.
yeah, yeah.
That's
I
pretty
mean,
much what it
I
is.
don't want to.
Guys,
Yeah,
anyone who listens, just freaking chill. But it's true. It's true. I truly believe it. But it is true, we just need to relax. And when we relax, we also connect to our heart more, I feel, because then we are not constantly in the mind and constantly thinking of stuff and having all these distractions and everything. If we just enable ourselves to relax, we can feel our body, we can feel our heart, our heartbeat, and so on. So yeah, I truly believe this is the way. And I also want to mention, as you said, that if I ask my heart a question like how can we connect more to our hearts, I feel like being around heart-centered people helps a lot because, as you said, you are containing someone, right? You're a container for love or for heart radiation or heart awakening, and then it's easier for someone to actually get their heart activated and open if they feel the safety of you radiating so much love, right? And I've had experiences like that as well. So I feel like if I needed to say an advice to people who listen, like what to do to open your heart, yes, you can do breathwork, you can do plant medicine, but also surround yourself with people who are really pure unconditional love, because that will help you see how they act, what they do, how they feel, and then it's going to be easier because you become the people that you're spending time with, right? So it's going to be easier for you to actually be in this energy. And yeah, so that's really one tip. And the second tip, what came to my mind is to share Teal Swan's tip. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her. She's my spiritual mentor, Teal Swan, and she said in one of her videos about opening the heart to ask yourself a question: what would someone who loves themselves do? And on every step of the way, just follow this kind of question, this kind of guidance. What would someone who loves themselves do? And sometimes I tweak it into what would Jesus do, because that's like that's quite a funny way to say it. But sometimes it's actually really useful. I mean, for all the people who really believe in Jesus and is their mentor. Like, I mean, I love Jesus. We're friends. But I'm not really religious. But I still think he was a beautiful example of love, right? So if you can just ask yourself, like, if you're confused or need to make a decision, and you're like, okay, what would someone who loves themselves do? And then you really know, because then you connect to this love, to your heart, to the guidance, the inner guidance, rather than just going with your mind and just like thinking of,
Yes.
reasons why you should do this or that. So that's just something that I wanted to share.
Oh, this is beautiful. Oh, thank you so much. I really felt that this is beautiful, and I totally agree. Absolutely. This is like sometimes. Um, I mean, it is difficult for in our times to if I hear something like, yeah, just follow your heart or listen to your heart. I have often people then they ask me like, what does that mean? Like, how is there a voice? Is there really a voice? Or um, and this is so because we are so into our mental psyche that we, because there is a voice. Yes, here this is something I cannot put it in words. This is like it's a feeling. It's like a really the intuitive feeling. It's your body is vibrating if you ask the question. Like if I'm meditating and I'm going into my heart and I want to have a question answered, then I'm feeling the answer. It's also not feeling. It's difficult to explain,
It's
but
like
it's
sensing,
something beyond
maybe.
words. It's I know it then. I know it just like that. And sometimes when I, for example, maybe this is also very helpful uh, to ask yourself the question like, if you have to choose between like to make a decision, if it feels like you are swimming upstream, then it's not good. If it feels like you are swimming downstream, then go for that. No?
Hmm.
So like if there is like more resistance to something, then you're probably not going with your heart. But if it feels
Hmm.
somehow though, oh, it feels like being in a flow state. It feels like, yeah, something is drawing. It's like pulling me to something like a river. It just flows. Then yeah, just have trust. Go with the flow. This is probably
And
something that fits very well to use to go with
yes,
intuition,
and
go with the
sometimes
heart.
I sometimes feel like there could be both, because, for example, recently I've made a new business deal with my new business partner, and I was just feeling like a
Mm.
big pull, like, yes, let's do it. But then, of course, I felt some resistance, but it was resistance from the mind saying, oh my God, and what if it doesn't work? Or what if whatever? What if I have too many responsibilities? Or what if I don't have as much freedom because now I'm going to be with someone doing this thing rather than on my own? But initially, like, and like really deeply, I feel yes. But you can feel resistance. But if it comes from your mind, only from fear, then sure, you can just feel the fear and get over it, kind of thing. Like really just shake it off, go as deeply as you can, go to your first time that you've ever experienced it, heal your inner child, and then you're on board with your whole body and mind and soul and heart. But yeah, it is this like intrinsic pull it's kind of like, fuck yes, if you really feel it in your heart. And so I can really relate to that because literally I've had this situation like, a few days ago. And now I just work through the fear. And now my whole body, my whole being says yes to it. Although it still feels like unknown and I don't know what's going to happen and how it's going to play out. But it's like, okay, I'm on board, and it feels great.
Yes, yes, yes. And you said it beautifully. You said it beautifully. And, you know, there's this full fucking yes. And I mean, it is. I just want to go into fear. What is fear? Because we sometimes misunderstand, like, oh, if I'm scared or something, then this is something that I don't should go into that direction because I'm scared of. But fear is just a natural response, again, of this beautiful vessel that we have, that for millions of years was shaped to protect us, to say, like, oh, if you feel this, feel fear, but that doesn't mean to not go. It just means pay attention. Just pay attention. So, like, having fear is good because then this part is doing its job, because it gets very clear. Your third eye is opening and everything is like, okay, I'm online. Now I'm observing. Now I'm learning. Yeah? So don't be scared. If fear is good, fear is something that wakes you up, and then go. Just go. I mean, this, like, how many times, like, my partner and I, since we were traveling for the last 10 years, every time there were like steps where it's like, oh my God, this feels like I'm so scared to do this. But it feels so good when I'm thinking about it. When I'm on, like, when I'm crossing this river on the other side, I see myself there, but I'm scared of this river. So yeah, I'm scared, but now I'm trying to figure out, okay, how can I cross this river and not drown? Not getting pulled by it and die. So you're very awake. You use your logic to try to figure a way. This is the only thing. So just to encourage everyone, fear is good. Don't be like, don't ignore fear. Fear is amazing. It's a very good tool or feeling that we need to learn, to grow. You know.
Yes,
Also, when I'm talking about, like, also trauma, for example, we are so scared about trauma. I mean, trauma is basically a question to your being. Can I overcome it or not? Like, if you can answer the question, then you grow. If you cannot answer the question that is giving to you, then you will repeat it every time, again and again, until you will solve it. you know this is what trauma means, basically. Something in your environment is changing, triggering your core, your whole being, but to adapt to it, to grow from it. And if we are just suppressing it, if we're just saying, like, oh, trauma, yes, I built an identification, and then I put myself into a victim mode and always use this story to reassure that I'm a victim, then you are not growing. And this is
yes,
like, this is what life is about. Everything in life, everything is growing. Trees are growing. Like, we are all growing. This is why we're here. We are just put into this dimension to learn, to understand, and to grow from it. So from this perspective, everything is beautiful. Everything is like
yes,
exactly as it should be, you know?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I couldn't agree more because even on other podcasts, I was like, I'm happy to be sad. Like, I'm happy to be angry. I'm happy with any emotion. I mean, not necessarily maybe I feel
Yes.
happy, but it's like I'm open to feeling and I accept any emotion that comes up because it's a lesson, as you said. And if I don't go through these triggers now, then they're gonna come back later anyway. So why not resolving it here and now and just learn from it and move on through it? So I
Yes.
totally resonate.
Yes.
I feel like with this awareness comes such a creator vibe rather than a victim, as you mentioned, because you really
Yes.
are a creator of your life if you can go into the trigger and be like, okay, I decide now I'm gonna go there and release it and accept it and then therefore improve my life, right? Because every trauma that you go through and you release from your body, it's like a filter of your reality just taken off, filter of fear, filter of anger, or filter whatever else the emotion is. And so you're actually improving your life massively when you go into the traumas. And yeah, I do trauma work as well as a job.
Mm.
So I'm so on board with everything you're saying. And so if someone would
Mm.
like to work on their traumas with you and with your breathwork practice, what is the best way to find you and contact you?
I am very much active on Instagram and on Facebook, so you can definitely contact me on those two platforms. And yeah, so just write me a DM, or I've also on my website, it's drsamirmujagic.com, where you can also get in contact with me. And yeah, I would love, of course, if people are drawn to go deeper into your heart, then please contact me. I would love to.
Beautiful. Thank you so, so much for sharing your love, your unconditional love with us and your wisdom and everything. It was really helpful for me to understand all these different types of breathing. And I'm just really, I feel like I resonate with your perspective so much. So it was a wonderful conversation. Thank you so, so much for being here with us.
Thank you, Carolina. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, beautiful souls, for being and breathing with us today. I love this conversation with Samir. It was a beautiful, beautiful one. And if you'd like to find me, I'm on Instagram as The Connection Catalyst. So contact me if you'd like to be interviewed on the podcast, or maybe you have some questions. And yeah, I'm super grateful that you're listening to us, and stay tuned to the next episode.